What happens when you take boxing, money, power, crime, betrayal, and revenge and put them all in the same ring? You get Fightland. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Miguelito to Toe, where we talk about boxing, the fighters, the business, and everything happening around the sport. Today, we're talking about the first episode of Fightland, the new Stars series executive produced by 50 Cent. And I'm going to keep this review focused on episode 1, so there will be spoilers from the first episode, but I'm not going to spoil what's coming later. Let's get into it. Right from the beginning, Fightland lets you know this isn't going to be a traditional boxing series. We're introduced to Duke Kilroy, a heavyweight champion whose life is about to change dramatically. And that's what I liked about the opening episode. The show doesn't spend forever trying to convince us that Duke is a great fighter. It establishes that pretty quickly. He's already been there. He's already reached the top. He's already experienced the money, the fame, and the championship lifestyle. But underneath all of that is a much darker story. And episode 1 starts pulling that story apart. The character I'm most interested in after episode 1 is obviously Duke. He's not your typical underdog boxer. Usually, when we get a boxing movie or a series, the question is, can this fighter make it to the top? With Duke, it's almost the opposite. He's already been at the top. So the question becomes, what happens when somebody takes everything away from you? That's a much more interesting setup. Duke isn't simply fighting for a belt anymore. He's dealing with anger, loss, betrayal, and consequences. And you can already see that boxing isn't just his profession, it's part of his identity. Now let's talk about the boxing itself. If you're coming into Fightland expecting the next Rocky, you need to adjust your expectations. This isn't really a boxing movie that happens to have a story around it. It's more of a crime drama where boxing is one of the major pieces. And honestly, I think that's what it makes it different. Episode 1 gives us enough boxing to establish Duke's world, but the bigger story is clearly going to involve the people surrounding him, the promoter, the money, the relationships, the people with power, and the people willing to do whatever it takes to keep that power. Then we meet Kingsley Marshall, and this is where the show gets interesting. Kingsley isn't simply a boxing promoter, he's connected to a much bigger world, and you immediately get the feeling that Duke and Kingsley have history. That's important because their relationship is one of the main things driving the story. Kingsley represents the side of boxing that most fans don't see when they're watching a fight. Fans see two fighters walk in the ring. They don't necessarily see everything happening behind the scenes: the negotiations, the money, the influence, the people deciding who gets opportunities. Fightland takes that behind the scenes world and turns it into something much darker. Without giving away every detail, episode 1 is basically about setting up why Duke's world is going to completely change. And I think the episode does a good job of making you understand that this isn't simply another boxing comeback story. Something much bigger is happening. By the end of the episode, you understand that Duke isn't just dealing with a boxing problem. He's dealing with people who have power over his entire life. And that's what makes you want to watch episode 2. Because now you're asking, what is Duke going to do about it? The biggest thing I liked about episode 1 is the atmosphere. It feels gritty, it feels dangerous, and it doesn't make the boxing world look glamorous all the time. That's something I appreciate. Boxing can be beautiful, it can change somebody's life, but there is also a business side to boxing that can get extremely complicated. Fightland is obviously taking that idea to an extreme, but that's what makes the show entertaining. I also think Howard Charles does a great job as Duke. You can feel that there's something underneath the character. He's not just angry for the sake of being angry. There's a reason behind it, and I'm interested to see how that develops. Now, episode 1 isn't perfect. There are moments where the show feels like it's trying to establish a lot of characters and storylines at once. And if you're expecting everything to move like a natural boxing match, you're probably going to feel like the episode is slow in certain areas. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Episode 1 is doing what a first episode is supposed to do, setting the table. It's introducing the players, it's showing us the world, and it's giving us a reason to come back. Now, here's the question boxing fans are probably going to ask: how realistic is Fightland? Well, I'm going to say this right now. Don't watch this expecting a documentary about professional boxing. This is entertainment. The criminal element is obviously exaggerated. The personalities are larger than life. And the story is designed to create drama. But there are pieces of the boxing business that feel familiar. The relationship between fighters and promoters, the importance of money, the power that comes with being a champion, and how much can happen outside of the actual ring. That's where Fightland gets interesting. So, what's my rating for Fightland Episode 1? I'm giving it a 8 out of 10. I think Episode 1 does exactly what it needs to do. It introduces an interesting main character. It establishes a dangerous antagonist. It gives us enough boxing to understand Duke's world. And most importantly, it makes me want to watch Episode 2. And that's probably the biggest compliment I can give a first episode. Fightland isn't Creed. It isn't Rocky. Isn't trying to be. It's a crime drama wrapped around the world of boxing. And after episode 1, I'm interested. Duke Kilroy has already lost a lot. The question is, how far is he willing to go to get it back? That's what I'm going to be watching for as this series continues. But that's my review of Fightland Episode 1. Now I want to hear from you. Did you watch the first episode? What did you think? Do you think Fightland has the potential to become a great boxing series? Or do you think it's more of a crime drama using boxing as the backdrop? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Miguelito to Toe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. This is Miguelito to Toe, and remember, everybody has a puncher's chance. I'll see you in the next one.